Welcome to the ultimate showdown of filial piety and adorable fear, where we strip away the blinding stadium lights, the prestigious Billboard awards, and the multi-million-dollar brand deals to expose the raw, hilarious, and heartwarming truth behind the biggest boy band in the world, BTS. You know them as the Bulletproof Boy Scouts, the global icons who have conquered the music industry with their message of self-love. But let's be real for a second. No matter how famous you become, no matter how many Grammys you are nominated for, and no matter how many presidents you meet, there is one supreme authority that can humble you in a single nanosecond: your mother. Today, we are diving deep into the untold psychology of the Bangtan boys to answer the burning question that every army has secretly wondered about but never dared to ask. Who actually runs the show? Is it Hybe? Is it Bang Si-hyuk? No, it is the 7 powerful mothers of BTS. We have analyzed years of archival footage, dug through obscure fan-signed post-it notes, dissected V-Live confessions, and pieced together tiny interactions to bring you the definitive, undisputed ranking. Who is the BTS member most scared of his mother? The results are absolutely shocking, the stories are deeply touching, and the hierarchy is absolutely ruthless. Is the confident genius leader RM immune to a mother's logic? Does the savage, unbothered Suga crumble under maternal pressure? Or is the golden Maknae Jungkook the baby who gets away with everything? You might think you know their personalities, but family dynamics change everything. And wait until you see who sits at number 1. It is a revelation that contradicts everything you think you know about his onstage persona and will leave you gasping in disbelief. It's time to witness the human side of these idols, the side that reminds us that, at the end of the day, they are just sons trying not to get in trouble for buying too many clothes or forgetting to call home. Get your popcorn ready and prepare for a roller coaster of emotions, because this is the Edu-Tainment deep dive you didn't know you needed, and the countdown begins right now. Number 7. J-Hope. The unshakable bond of sunlight, a tribute written in tears, the sun who knows no fear. We kick off this emotional roller coaster at the very bottom of our fear meter with a member who redefines the mother-son dynamic not as a hierarchy of authority, but as a sacred partnership of unconditional love and overwhelming gratitude, placing number 7 firmly in the hands of the radiant dance leader, J-Hope. When we talk about Young Ho-seok, the sunshine of BTS, the choreography captain who strikes fear into the hearts of the members when a dance step is missed, we are talking about a man who operates on a frequency of pure, unadulterated passion. And when you peel back the layers of his psychological makeup to find the source of that boundless energy, you inevitably land on the figure of his mother. Why is he ranked number 7, the least scared? Because fear requires distance, fear requires the possibility of punishment or misunderstanding, but the bond between J-Hope and his mother is so transparent, so deeply rooted in mutual sacrifice and triumph, that there is simply no room for the triviality of fear, only an ocean of respect that brings grown men to tears. To understand why he isn't scared in the traditional sense, we have to travel back in time, away from the glitz of Seoul, down to the artistic streets of Gwangju, where a young boy dreamed of moving his body to the rhythm of the world. In the edutainment history of K-pop, there are few stories as visceral and well-documented as the financial and emotional gamble J-Hope's mother took on her son. While his father, a literature teacher, was initially skeptical of a career in dance, a common friction point in traditional households that usually generates fear of parental disapproval, his mother became the silent warrior behind the scenes, the one who worked jobs away from home, sacrificing her own comfort and stability to pay for his expensive dance academy tuition. This is the crux of the narrative. J-Hope doesn't fear his mother because he witnessed her struggle for him. He doesn't fear her judgment because she believed in him when the path was dark and uncertain. This dynamic was immortalized in what might be the most heartbreakingly beautiful solo track in BTS history, Mama, from the Wings album, a song that acts as a sonic documentary of their relationship. When J-Hope performs this song accompanied by a gospel choir, falling to his knees on stages across the world, he isn't performing out of obligation. He is channeling a gratitude so intense it vibrates through the stadium. The lyrics, "You floated on a small boat in the boundless sea," and his promise that, "Now you can lean on me," completely dismantle the scared child trope. A child who is scared of his mother hides his mistakes. J-Hope, conversely, shines a spotlight on his life and says, "Look, Mom, this is all for you." There is a specific, tangible lack of fear in his interactions that fans have observed over the years. For instance, during phone calls on variety shows or in vlogs, his tone with her is chatty, affectionate, and incredibly open, lacking that hesitant tremble or the careful word selection that some other members display. He treats her like his closest confidant, a queen who deserves the spoils of his victory, not a warden he needs to evade. Furthermore, J-Hope's personality, that meticulous, organized, clean freak nature that we see in Bon Voyage or In the Soup, where he folds his clothes perfectly and keeps his space tidy, is often attributed to his mother's influence, but not out of fear of being scolded. Rather, it is an internalized mimicry of her care. He embodies her lessons so thoroughly that there is no friction, no conflict point where fear could fester. Even when we look at the lighter moments, the chaotic energy of the BTS dorms, J-Hope is often the mom figure of the group, scolding the others for messiness, which implies he sits on the side of maternal authority rather than being subject to it. He understands the maternal logic. He gets it. He isn't the rebellious son trying to sneak out. He is the golden son who likely texted his mom his itinerary before she even asked. The narrative here is one of triumph over the traditional generation gap. In many Asian households, the mother figure can be a source of immense pressure regarding grades or career stability, creating a tiger mom dynamic where the child lives in perpetual anxiety of falling short. J-Hope's narrative breaks this mold because his success is the direct result of her defiance of norms. She bet on his talent. Therefore, his relationship with her is a victory lap. When he bought a luxury apartment for his parents, when he sends her gifts, it's not an apology for being a bad son. It's a celebration of their shared journey. This absence of fear doesn't mean a lack of discipline. J-Hope is arguably the most disciplined member of BTS, but that discipline is self-imposed to honor her sacrifice, not externally applied through the fear of a wooden spoon or a harsh word. It is a mature, evolved relationship that many strive for, but few achieve a transition from parent-child subordination to a deep, soul-level friendship. So, as we start this ranking, we place J-Hope at number 7, not because he doesn't respect her authority, he reveres it, but because you don't fear the person who gave you your wings. You just fly for them. And in J-Hope's case, he soars, carrying her legacy in every pop, lock, and drop, proving that sometimes the strongest authority is love, not fear, making him the member most likely to hug his mom rather than run from her. Number 6. Suga. The savage rapper silenced by truth, the Daegu prince who cannot win a debate, the victim of the ultimate roast. Moving up the ladder of maternal intimidation, we leave the realm of pure sunshine and step into the smoky, intense underground world of Daegu to find number 6, the man who claims he wants to be reborn as a rock in his next life, the lethargic genius, Suga. Now, you might be scratching your head, thinking, wait a minute, Min Yoongi? The Aegis D? The man who spits fire at haters and writes diss tracks that dismantle the entire music industry? How is he scared of anyone? And that is exactly why this ranking is so fascinating, because the dynamic between Suga and his mother is a masterclass in genetic savage energy, proving that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, it just gets roasted by the tree. Suga is ranked at number 6, not because he lives in terror of physical discipline, but because he lives in a constant state of emotional checkmate, delivered by a woman who is arguably wittier, sharper, and more brutally honest than he is. If J-Hope's relationship is a warm hug, Suga's relationship is a rap battle where he loses every single time. We have to understand the history here to grasp the nuance of this fear. Unlike the supportive narrative of J-Hope, Suga's journey began with intense friction. In true docudrama fashion, we must recall the dark days of his pre-debut life when his parents, particularly his mother, were vehemently opposed to his music dreams, going so far as to throw away his lyric books and MIDI equipment. This wasn't done out of malice, but out of a deep, terrifying protective instinct typical of conservative Korean parents who feared their son would starve in the cutthroat entertainment industry. This early conflict planted a seed of fear that wasn't about being scolded for not cleaning his room, but the existential fear of disappointing the people he wanted to make proud. However, as time healed these wounds and BTS rose to stratospheric fame, the dynamic shifted from tragic opposition to a hilarious, sitcom-like fear of being humbled. The reason Suga is number 6, still relatively low on the fear scale, but definitely not safe, is because his mother has the unique power to strip away his cool rapper persona in seconds. There is a legendary anecdote that every army knows, a moment that defines this Edu-Tainment analysis. When Suga asked his mom for feedback after seeing him on TV, expecting perhaps a compliment on his rap flow or his visuals. Instead, she famously told him, "You look like a boiled dumpling. Pause and let that sink in." The man is a global sex symbol, a fashion icon for Valentino, and his mother reduced him to a piece of soggy dough. This is why he fears her. He fears her accuracy. He fears her lack of filter. In another instance, she commented that she likes seeing him on TV because he looks taller than he actually is. This is psychological warfare at its finest. It creates a dynamic where Suga, the man who acts unbothered by anything, becomes visibly sheepish and defenseless when discussing her. It's a fear of exposure. While the world treats him like a king, his mother treats him like the clumsy kid from Daegu. This grounds him, yes, but it also keeps him on his toes. He knows he cannot use his celebrity status card at home because she simply does not care. Furthermore, we see this fear manifest in his resignation. When Suga tells stories about his parents, there is a tone of, "I can't believe she said that, but I can't argue back." It's the silence of a defeated warrior. Remember the AMAs behind the scenes? While other parents were likely crying and praising their sons, Suga's parents were likely pointing out that his hair looked messy. This keeps him ranked at number 6 because while the tension of the past has resolved into a loving, teasing relationship evidenced by the restaurant he opened for them and their presence at concerts, the residual trauma of her sharp tongue remains. He isn't scared of the wooden spoon anymore. He is scared of the verbal sniper rifle she keeps locked and loaded. It's a distinctively Asian household dynamic. The tiger mom who has softened into the savage grandma, leaving the son in a perpetual state of trying to prove he is cool, only to be reminded he is just her son. It is also important to note the emotional weight of his track The Last, or his interludes where he mentions his parents coming to his concert and bowing to them. That wasn't just respect, that was a plea for validation. The fear of times, not times being enough, drove him. Now that he times is times enough, the fear has morphed into a comedic deference. He knows he cannot win an argument. He knows his logic, which destroys interviewers, holds no power against mom logic. So Min Yoongi sits at number 6, comfortably successful, rich beyond belief, but forever the dumpling in the eyes of the one woman who knows his true form, proving that even the king of rap can be silenced by a single sentence from the queen of Daegu. Number 5. Jin. The worldwide handsome who can't escape the scolding, the oldest brother with the youngest soul, the master of deflection who gets caught. Entering the top 5, we encounter a plot twist that might surprise the casual viewer, but makes perfect sense to the seasoned observer of Bangtan dynamics. We arrive at the eldest member, the Mat Hyung, the man with shoulders as wide as the Pacific Ocean, and a face that science has deemed perfect, Kim Seokjin, aka Jin. You might assume that by virtue of age, Jin would be the authority figure, the one who commands respect and lives free from parental terror. But here is the Edu-Tainment reality check. Age in the Kim household is just a number, and the hierarchy of fear is alive and well. Jin lands at number 5 because his relationship with his mother is a chaotic masterpiece of high expectations, hilarious misunderstandings, and a very specific type of nagging that pierces through his worldwide handsome armor. Unlike Suga's mother, who roasts with savage one-liners, Jin's mother operates with the relentless energy of a traditional mom who just wants her son to be normal, despite him being an international superstar. The core of Jin's fear, and let's call it a healthy, nervous respect, stems from the fact that his mother is arguably the only person who doesn't buy into his chaotic confidence. We have to look at the legendary Odin incident. Jin, in a moment of filial piety, decided to cook for his mother to show off his improved culinary skills that have fed 6 hungry boys for a decade. He prepared a dish, expecting praise, perhaps tears of joy. Instead, his mother reportedly said it was too salty and effectively roasted his cooking skills, causing him to immediately retreat. This is the essence of his ranking. He tries so hard to impress, only to be met with the grounding reality of maternal critique. Jin fears the Times' lack of reaction times, or the Times' blunt dissatisfaction times more than anything. He is a performer who feeds on applause. His mother cuts off the supply, leaving him scrambling. Furthermore, we must discuss the allowance era. For a long time, even after debut, there were stories circulating about Jin's wealthy background and his mother's influence. While not scary in a poverty sense, there is a pressure in coming from a well-to-do family to maintain a certain image. Jin's mother is often described as an elegant, articulate woman, echoed by the members, and this creates a fear of embarrassment in Jin. Notice how he acts when he tells dad jokes? He is shameless. But notice how he acts when talking about his mom? He becomes respectful, almost reporting to a superior officer. There is a famous story Jin told about his mother listening to his friends, bragging about their successful sons, and she stayed silent. Jin then decided to become successful to make her proud. That's silence? That is the weapon. That is why he is. Number 5. The fear of her silence drove him to become a global icon. It wasn't the screaming, it was the quiet comparison. Even now, with millions in the bank, Jin exhibits a specific anxiety about spending right or acting right that feels directly tied to maternal oversight. He might be the guy who buys a golden phone case just to show off, but you can bet he probably calls his mom to ask if it's too gaudy first, or hides it from her. Additionally, we see this fear in his speech patterns. Jin talks times a lot asterisk. He rants. He raps his complaints. This is often a defense mechanism of a child who needs to explain himself before he gets in trouble. It's the classic, I didn't do it, but here is why it happened energy. In fan calls or lives, when the topic of parents comes up, Jin often portrays his mom as someone who keeps him in check, someone who tells him to eat more or eat less, managing his life from afar. He is the prince of BTS, but every prince fears the queen mother. The dynamic is less about she will hit me and more about she will lecture me for 4 hours about why I shouldn't have dyed my hair that color. It's the fear of the Times long talk asterisk. The fear of the Times lecture asterisk. And for a man who values efficiency and fun, a 2-hour lecture on why he didn't wear a jacket is a fate worse than death. So, Jin takes the number 5 spot, representing the universal struggle of the eldest son who is still treated like a baby, forever trying to balance his global fame with the fact that, at home, he's just Seokjin who forgot to take out the trash again. Number 4. RM. The leader who bows down at home, the genius who cannot fix what he breaks, the son who survived the mic drop of discipline. We have crossed the halfway mark, and the atmosphere in our ranking shifts dramatically as we encounter a man whose intellect is so formidable. He taught himself English by watching Friends. A man who has addressed the United Nations General Assembly with intellect is the poise of a seasoned diplomat, and a leader who manages the chaotic personalities of 6 other millionaires without breaking a sweat. We are, of course, talking about Kim Namjoon, the charismatic leader RM. You might look at his imposing height, his IQ of 148, and his philosophical lyrics and assume he is the supreme authority in his family, a pillar of logic that cannot be shaken. But you would be wrong. RM lands at number 4, marking the entry into the red zone of maternal fear, because his relationship with his mother is built on a foundation of intense historical conflict and present-day clumsiness that creates a perpetual state of high-alert anxiety. To understand the fear of RM, we have to go back to the most dramatic origin story in BTS history, a story that plays out like a cinematic thriller. Before he was RM, he was just a student in Ilsan facing the crushing weight of academic expectations. His mother, a woman of fierce standards, saw his grades, which were in the top 1% of the nation, and envisioned a stable, successful future in law or business. When Namjoon discovered hip-hop and started writing lyrics instead of studying formulas, it wasn't just a hobby, it was a rebellion. The fear he carries today is rooted in the legendary mic incident, where his mother, in a desperate bid to save his academic future, reportedly destroyed his computer and his microphone to stop him from making music. Can you imagine the sheer terror of that moment? The woman who gave you life destroying the tools of your soul? This act of tough love instilled a profound, deeply ingrained respect and fear of her power. He had to convince her, using that 148 IQ, with the famous line, "Mom, do you want a son who is in 5,000th place as a student, or a son who is number 1 at rap?" He won the debate, but the psychological scar of that confrontation remains. He knows she is capable of the nuclear option. She isn't afraid to pull the plug. This history makes him number 4 because he knows his current freedom is a privilege she granted, not a right he took. But the fear doesn't stop at history. It continues into the present through his notorious reputation as the god of destruction. This is where the comedy ensues. RM breaks everything he touches: sunglasses, figurines, stage sets, and probably the laws of physics. Now, imagine being a grown man, a multimillionaire, visiting your mother's house. You reach for a glass of water. It shatters. You try to open a door. The handle comes off. The panic in RM's eyes when he breaks something on camera is not just about the item. It's a flashback to the scolding mode. There is a palpable energy of don't tell mom whenever he loses his passport or his AirPods for the 34th time. His mother acts as the ultimate auditor of his life. While fans coo over his clumsiness, his mother likely sees it as a defect she needs to manage. There was a time he mentioned his mother monitoring his news articles and broadcasts, texting him feedback. This surveillance, the leader of BTS, who monitors global trends, is being monitored by Mrs. Kim from Ilsan. If he slurs a word, if his outfit is too weird, if he looks tired, he hears about it. It's a cerebral fear. Unlike the physical fear of a spanking, this is the fear of the disappointed sigh. RM is a perfectionist. He wants to be the perfect son. His mother's high standards haven't lowered just because he is famous. They have just shifted focus. She keeps him humble, not by roasting him like Suga's mom, but by holding him to a standard of competence that he, in his clumsy, artistic genius, struggles to meet in daily life. Even his fashion choices, often avant-garde and expensive, are subject to the mom gaze. You can see it in his demeanor when he talks about family. He becomes incredibly articulate, careful, almost as if he is drafting a press release to avoid misunderstanding. He loves her fiercely, writing songs that reference her support. But that support came after a war. He is the soldier who won the battle but still flinches at loud noises. Number 4 is the perfect spot for RM because it represents the tension between the public commander and the private son. He rules the world, but in the Kim household, he is still the boy who needs to be careful not to knock over the vase, and that constant, low-level anxiety that she is watching his every move makes him the king of caution, proving that no amount of IQ points can outsmart a mother's intuition. Number 3, Kim Tae-young. The Gucci prince who fears the fashion police, the son who cannot hide his tummy, the victim of the blunt truth. We are now entering the podium positions, the danger zone where the fear becomes less about respect and more about immediate, hilarious, soul-crushing reality checks. Standing at number 3 is the man with the most handsome face in the world, the social butterfly who befriends everyone from Lady Gaga to the guy working at the convenience store, the free spirit of BTS, Kim Tae-young, aka V. You see V on stage, serving looks that kill, wearing outfits that cost more than a luxury car, and you think, this man answers to no one. He is the definition of confidence, the icon of singularity. But why is he ranked so high on the scaredometer? Because behind the Gucci loafers and the Celine bags stands a woman who possesses the ultimate weapon against a world-famous idol, the unfiltered ability to call him chubby. Yes, you heard that right. V lands at number 3 because his relationship with his mother is defined by a savage love that keeps his ego in check with brutal efficiency. While V talks endlessly about his father being his role model, a relationship built on admiration and emulation, his mentions of his mother often come with a sheepish grin, the kind of grin a kid gives when they've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar. The core of this fear is the visual audit. In an industry where everyone tells V he is perfect, his mother is the lone voice telling him the truth he doesn't want to hear. There is a famous moment where V shared that his mother watched him on a broadcast and her feedback wasn't "you sang beautifully" or "your dance was amazing." No, she reportedly told him he looked a bit fat or squishy on screen. Imagine the horror. You are V. The cameras love you, but your mom is at home squinting at the TV, judging your snack intake. This creates a specific type of fear, the fear of the body check. It makes him self-conscious in the most adorable way possible. He knows that no matter how many magazines call him a visual god, his mom is looking at his cheeks and thinking about putting him on a diet. This keeps him ranked high because it proves that to her, he isn't a star, he's just her son who likes hamburgers too much. But the fear goes deeper into the realm of behavior and manners. V is known for his unique, sometimes eccentric personality, the alien nickname of the past. His mother played a crucial role in curating his image to ensure he survived the harsh judgment of Seoul. we have to talk about the legendary Red North face jacket story. Before V even joined BTS, his mother, fearing her countryside son would be bullied or looked down upon by the city kids in Seoul, spent a massive amount of money. She barely had to buy him an expensive, premium padded jacket. This wasn't just a gift, it was armor. V has told this story with a mix of pride and intense guilt. The fear here is the fear of wasting her sacrifice. He entered the trainee life terrified of letting down the woman who emptied her pockets to protect his dignity. That jacket was a heavy weight to carry. It meant, do not fail, do not let them break you. This pressure creates a high-stakes relationship where V feels an immense obligation to be the successful son to justify that red jacket. Furthermore, we see her influence in his good boy persona. V often introduces himself as a good boy. This isn't just a catchphrase, it's a conditioned response. It's the echo of his mother telling him to behave. There are stories of her telling him not to accept gifts from fans in the early days because she didn't want him to be seen as greedy or spoiled. This level of micromanagement monitoring his weight, his clothes, his manners, places V firmly at number 3. He isn't scared of a fight, he is scared of her taste level. He fears her critique because he knows she is the one person who isn't blinded by his fame. If V wears a questionable outfit, the members might laugh, the fans might scream, but his mom? She will ask him why he is wearing his grandmother's curtains. That distinct grounding fear of being uncool in front of the woman who dressed you makes V a top-tier candidate in this ranking. She holds the mirror up to him, and sometimes the reflection says, "You need a haircut," and that is a terrifying reality for a global fashion icon. Number 2, Jimin. The angel who trembles before the queen, the high note that cracks under pressure, the son who fears the tears more than the pain. We have reached the penultimate position, the runner-up in this hierarchy of filial fear, and the atmosphere in the room has shifted from comedic roasting to something far more intense, emotional, and deeply psychological. Standing at number 2 is the man who embodies grace, the Busan prince who can manipulate gravity with his dance, the member with the voice of a siren, Park Jimin. You might be thinking, Jimin? The sweetest, most affectionate member? The one who hugs everyone? How can he be terrified of his mother? And that is precisely the trap. Jimin lands at number 2 not because he fears a physical reprimand and not because he fears a savage roast, but because he lives in the perpetual, agonizing fear of his mother's times worry asterisk. This is the most potent, paralyzed form of fear known to mankind. The guilt trip. Unlike Suga's mom who laughs, or V's mom who critiques, Jimin's mother wields the ultimate weapon, the tearful plea. To understand this dynamic, we have to dissect the near-death experience of Jimin's career. Every army knows the lore. Jimin was almost kicked out of the debut lineup 8 times. 8 times! Can you imagine the psychological state of a teenager in Seoul, far away from his home in Busan, holding his phone, terrified to make that call? The fear of picking up the phone and telling his mother, "I failed. I'm coming home." Forged a trauma bond with success that dictates his life to this day. He didn't fear her anger, he feared breaking her heart. This created a fear that manifests as extreme perfectionism. Why does Jimin practice until he collapses? Why is he the harshest critic of his own voice? Because he is running away from the possibility of disappointing the woman who sent him to Seoul with her blessings. He is. Number 2, because his fear is an active daily anxiety. We see this manifest in the health check dynamic. Jimin has a history of extreme dieting, the blood, sweat, and tears era where he famously ate 1 meal every 10 days, a dangerous, dark time. Who was the force that stopped him? It wasn't the company, it wasn't the fans, it was the terrifying prospect of his mother finding out. There are accounts and insinuations that the only person who can make Jimin eat, the only person who can force him to rest, is his mother. But she doesn't do it with a stick, she does it with a sentence like, "Jimin, ah, you look thin." That sentence strikes more fear into him than 1,000 anti-fans. He is terrified of her sadness. When he is on video calls with his parents, which happens frequently, observers notice a shift in his demeanor. He becomes incredibly soft, almost fragile, constantly reassuring them. "I ate, I slept, I'm okay." This is the behavior of a son who is walking on eggshells, not because he is hiding a crime, but because he is hiding his pain to protect her. He absorbs the suffering so she doesn't have to feel it. That is a terrifying burden to carry. It places him at number 2 because the authority here is absolute. If his mother tells him to come home, he comes home. If she tells him to stop, he stops. Furthermore, we must look at the financial fear. Jimin is known for his immense generosity, pouring money into his father's cafe, Maknae, and donating to education in Busan. This isn't just charity, it's a tribute. It's a way of saying, I am worthy. The fear is that if he stops being the pride of Busan, he loses his identity in her eyes. There is a deeply ingrained Asian value of saving face for the family, and as the eldest son, Jimin carries the weight of the Park family legacy on his small shoulders. He isn't just Jimin of BTS, he is the investment of his mother's hope. We also have to touch on the shy mom factor. Unlike J-Hope's mom who might appear in a vlog, or Jungkook's dad who draws pictures, Jimin's mom is a ghost. She is rarely seen, rarely heard. This absence in the public eye adds to her mystique and power. She is the voice from above. When Jimin talks about her, it's with a reverence that borders on worship and fear. He talks about her kimchi, her advice, her gentle scolding. He once mentioned that he talks to his dad more because his dad is like a friend, implying that his mom is something else, something higher, something you don't joke with. You joke with your dad, you report to your mom. Even in his solo work, the themes of lie or face struggling with inner demons can be traced back to this intense pressure to present a perfect image. The good boy Jimin is a construct built to satisfy the maternal gaze. He cannot be a rebel. He cannot be a scandal maker. While Jungkook might get tattoos and piercings and shrug it off, spoiler alert for the dynamics, Jimin's hesitation with body art initially, or his concealment of it, hints at the "what will mom think" factor. He is the son who likely wore long sleeves to hide a bruise so she wouldn't cry. This places him above V, above RM, above everyone else except one, because his fear is rooted in love so deep it hurts. He is the hostage of her happiness. He cannot mess up. He cannot fall. And that constant high-wire act of trying to be the perfect angel for the woman who birthed him makes Park Jimin the second most scared member, proving that the softest hearts often carry the heaviest chains of expectation. Number 1. Jungkook, the golden Maknae who bows to the Iron Lady, the scandal of the spelling test, the son who learned that honesty worth more than gold. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the summit, the absolute peak of our hierarchy, the final boss level of maternal intimidation, and sitting on this throne of trembling respect is none other than the man who can do anything. The main vocalist, the center, the global pop superstar who made the world stop with 7, Jungkook. Now, I know what you are screaming at your screens right now. You are screaming, Jungkook? The rebel? The guy with the sleeve of tattoos? The guy with the lip piercing? The guy who falls asleep on live stream in front of 10 million people while snoring? He does whatever he wants. He is the definition of unbothered. And that, my friends, is exactly why he is number 1. Because the fear Jungkook holds for his mother is not the fear of a child hiding from a punishment. It is the foundational, earth-shattering fear of a creator god who molded his entire moral universe with a single, violent lesson that defines who he is today. To understand why the golden Maknae is the most scared, read deeply, existentially disciplined, by his mother, we must open the history books to the single most defining moment of his childhood, the legendary cheating incident. This story is the Magna Carta of the Jeon household. When Jungkook was a young boy in Busan, wide-eyed and mischievous, he took a spelling test. Like many kids who want to avoid a bad grade, he cheated, he peeked, he fudged the results. He came home, perhaps expecting that if he got a good score, his method wouldn't matter. But Mrs. Jean is not your average mother. When she found out he had cheated, she didn't just scold him. She didn't just take away his toys. According to Jungkook's own confession, she gave him a spanking so severe, a discipline so intense, that it became a core memory. But here is the twist that lands him at. Number 1. She told him, I don't care if you get 100 points or 0 points. I don't care about your grades. But I will not tolerate you being a person who cheats. Boom, let that sink in. In a country obsessed with academic success, where mothers usually punish sons for low grades, Jungkook's mother punished him for times low integrity *. She declared that being a good human was infinitely more important than being a successful one. This instilled a fear in Jungkook that is totally different from the others. It is the fear of losing his soul. It is the fear of becoming fake. This is why Jungkook is so obsessively authentic. Why does he turn on Weverse Live and fold his underwear for hours? Why does he wash his dishes immediately? Why does he cook his own food with such precision? Because the ghost of Mrs. Jeon's training is haunting his daily routine. He is terrified of being lazy, terrified of being dishonest, terrified of taking shortcuts. The fear has metabolized into a relentless work ethic. When you see him practicing choreography until his feet bleed, it's not just for the fans. It's because Mrs. Jeon raised a soldier, not a celebrity. Furthermore, let's talk about the alpha mom energy. We know the lore. Jungkook's dad was handsome, but it was his times, mother times, who made the first move. She saw him, she wanted him, she got him. She is proactive, fierce, and incredibly strong-willed. Jungkook himself has admitted that his personality, his competitive streak, his inability to lose, his burning passion is a direct copy-paste of his mother. And there is no one you fear more than the person who is exactly like you, but stronger. He knows he cannot out-stubborn her. He knows he cannot out-passionate her. She is the original flame. This creates a dynamic where Jungkook, despite being a multi-millionaire who could buy the entire city of Busan if he wanted to, still acts like a disciplined cadet in her presence. Remember when he talked about his parents' reaction to his decision to drop out of high school initially, or his focus on dance? They supported him, but only because he proved his passion was real. The fear is that if his passion dies, her support vanishes. She operates on a meritocracy of spirit. If you aren't giving 110%, you aren't her son. This is terrifying. It's a love that demands excellence of character. We also have to discuss the tattoo era. When Jungkook started covering his body in ink, the world gasped. What will his parents think? Interestingly, while his dad might have been softer, the fact that Jungkook did it so boldly suggests he had to reach a point of maturity where he could stand toe-to-toe with his mother's judgment. But even then, notice how he talks about his choices. He owns them with a specific type of stubbornness that screams, "I am my mother's son." He is rebelling times with times the spirit she gave him. But the ultimate proof of his #1 ranking lies in his basic manners. Despite being the biggest star on the planet, staff members, cameramen, and juniors consistently vote Jungkook as the most polite, humble, and helpful member. He bows 90 degrees. He picks up trash. He helps move set pieces. Why? Because Mrs. Jeon is watching. He knows that if a report ever got back to Busan that he was rude to a staff member, the consequences would be far worse than a drop in stock prices. He fears being a bad person more than he fears losing his fame. That moral surveillance, that internal voice that says, "Be humble, be honest, be real," is the voice of his mother. It is a fear that keeps him grounded when gravity tries to pull him into the clouds of ego. She is the anchor. She is the judge. She is the one person who can look at the golden Maknae and say, "You missed a spot washing those dishes," and he will immediately run to fix it. This total, holistic domination of his moral compass, this training that overrides his celebrity status, makes Jeon Jungkook the undisputed #1. He isn't just scared of her, he is a masterpiece sculpted by her iron will, and he knows that without that fear, he wouldn't be the legend he is today.